For more original stories, subscribe to Audio Tales. Now, let's begin this one. The shrill, insistent ring of his phone sliced through the quiet hum of the office. Liam flinched, his hand already reaching for it, a knot of unease tightening in his stomach. It wasn't the usual upbeat chime of a work call. This was his personal ringtone, reserved for family, for emergencies, and the caller ID flashed Amelia, his wife. His heart hammered against his ribs. He usually loved seeing her name pop up, a little jolt of warmth in his day. But not now, not with that ominous, drawn-out ring. He answered, his voice a little too tight, a little too breathless. "Amelia? Everything okay?" A crackle of static, then a faint whisper. "Liam, I can't." The line broke. Just like that. A cold dread seeped into his bones. He tried calling back, his thumb hitting. Redial repeatedly, but it went straight to voicemail. His mind raced, replaying her fragmented words. I can't. What couldn't she? What was happening? He felt a primal panic clawing at his throat. He had to get home. Now. He burst out of his cubicle, ignoring the bewildered glances of his colleagues. "Emergency! I have to go!" he yelled over, his shoulder not bothering to explain. The elevator ride down felt like an eternity, the doors too slow to open, the descent too sluggish. He sprinted to his car, fumbling with the keys, his hands shaking so badly he almost dropped them. The engine roared to life, a desperate symphony to his ears. He sped through traffic, the city lights blurring into streaks of color, each red light a personal affront, each slow driver a maddening obstacle. His mind was a maelstrom of worst-case scenarios. Had she been in an accident? Was she hurt? Was she gone? He remembered their last conversation that morning, a light-hearted chat about what to have for dinner. She joked about his terrible cooking. He'd playfully threatened to order pizza again. It was normal. It was them. How could everything unravel so quickly? He recalled the way she'd smiled at him over her coffee cup, her eyes crinkling. At the corners, Amelia. Her warmth, her laughter, her unwavering optimism. She was the anchor in his often chaotic life. He couldn't lose her. He wouldn't lose her. He pulled into their driveway, the tires squealing in protest. The house was dark, silent. Too silent. A chill snaked down his spine. He jumped out of the car, leaving the door ajar, and fumbled with his house keys, his breath catching in his throat. The door swung open with a soft creak. "Amelia!" he called out, his voice hoarse. Silence. Only the faint tick-tock of the grandfather clock in the hallway answered him. He stepped inside, his eyes darting around the familiar living room, now imbued with an eerie stillness. Nothing seemed out of place. The throw blanket was draped over the sofa, just as Amelia had left it. A half-read book lay open on the coffee table. His gaze landed on a small, elegantly wrapped gift box on the mantelpiece, adorned with a delicate ribbon. He hadn't noticed it that morning. A belated birthday present, perhaps. But his birthday was months away. He moved cautiously through the house, each step echoing in the profound silence. The kitchen was tidy, the dishes put away. The scent of freshly brewed coffee still lingered faintly in the air. He remembered Amelia mentioning she was going to bake a cake for a friend's birthday later that day. Had she? He peered into the oven. Empty. The baking ingredients were neatly arranged on the counter. Flour, sugar, eggs, all untouched. A half-written recipe card lay beside them, Amelia's neat cursive trailing off mid-sentence. "For Sarah's party, for Sarah's party. Sarah was their mutual friend. This detail, small as it was, settled a fresh wave of panic over him. Amelia was meticulous. She never left things unfinished, especially not baking. This was wrong. All of it. He went upstairs, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. The bedroom was immaculate. The bed was made, the pillows fluffed. Her favorite scarf lay folded on the dresser. He opened the closet. Her clothes were all there, neatly hung, her shoes lined up below. Nothing was missing. He checked the bathroom. Her toothbrush was in its holder, her makeup scattered on the counter. Everything normal, and yet profoundly abnormal. There was no sign of a struggle, no indication of forced entry. It was as if she had simply vanished. He tried her phone again. Still voicemail. He called Sarah, their friend. No answer. He left a frantic message, barely coherent. "It's Liam. Something's wrong with Amelia. Call me back as soon as you can." He paced the bedroom, his mind a whirlwind of confusion and fear. He tried to piece together the fragments of her last audio message. "I can't." He closed his eyes, concentrating, trying to replay it in his mind, to find some hidden meaning, some clue he'd missed. But it was just that, a broken whisper. Then he remembered the gift box on the mantelpiece. He raced back downstairs, his eyes fixed on it. It was small, no bigger than his hand. He picked it up, his fingers tracing the delicate ribbon. It felt light. He carefully untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of tissue paper, was a single, intricately folded paper crane and a small, handwritten note. His name was on the envelope in Amelia's elegant script. His hands trembled as he opened it. The note was short. "My dearest, Liam, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Please don't try to find me. This is not goodbye forever, but goodbye for now. I need you to trust me. There are things you don't know, things I couldn't tell you, but you will understand soon. Everything is prepared. Just follow the clues. My love, Amelia." His blood ran cold. Gone? What did she mean, gone? And everything is prepared? What was prepared? He reread the note, his mind reeling. This wasn't an abduction. This was a plan. Her plan. But why? Why would she leave him? Why the mystery? And what was it he didn't know? He felt a fresh wave of panic, mixed with a chilling sense of betrayal. He loved her fiercely, and he thought he knew everything about her. Had he been wrong? He looked around the house, his eyes now seeing everything through a different lens. Everything is prepared. He went back to the kitchen. The unturned baking, ingredients, the unfinished recipe card. He picked up the card. It wasn't just a recipe. On the back, in faint pencil, almost erased, was a series of numbers. He squinted. 24, 17, 03, 09. What did they mean? Coordinates? A date? He tried to think. 24. December 24th? No, that didn't make sense. 17? 03? 09? He felt a surge of frustration. This was a riddle, and he was terrible at riddles. He looked around the kitchen again. What else was prepared? He remembered the coffee smell. Amelia was obsessed with coffee. She had a collection of antique coffee grinders. He looked at the shelf where they sat. One of them, a small, intricate brass grinder, seemed slightly out of place. He reached for it, his fingers brushing against its cool surface. It was heavier than the others. He turned it over. On the bottom, etched into the brass, were the same. Numbers 2417 03 0. A jolt went through him. These numbers were significant. But what did they unlock? He tried to associate them with anything in their lives. An anniversary? A date? He racked his brain. Nothing. He returned to the living room, the paper crane, and Amelia's note still in his hand. Follow the clues. The first clue was the paper crane. He looked at it, admiring its delicate folds. He remembered Amelia telling him about the Japanese legend of the 1,000 paper cranes, that if you folded 1,000, your wish would come true. Was this a wish? A final wish? He unfolded the crane carefully, his fingers tracing the creases. Inside, on the paper, was a drawing. It was a crude, almost childish drawing of a tree. A specific tree. The ancient oak in their backyard. The one they'd carved their initials into when they first bought the house. A wave of nostalgia, sharp and painful, washed over him. He used to tease her about how much she loved that old tree. He rushed out, to the backyard, the cool evening air doing little to calm his racing heart. The oak stood tall and majestic, its branches reaching towards the darkening sky. He ran his hand over the bark, searching, and there it was, a small, almost invisible indentation in the trunk, just below their carved initials. He pressed it. A tiny compartment, cleverly concealed, sprang open. Inside, nestled on a bed of velvet, was a tarnished silver locket. He recognized it immediately. It had belonged to Amelia's grandmother. She wore it constantly, a cherished family heirloom. He remembered her telling him stories about her grandmother, a woman who lived a life of quiet adventure, full of secrets and hidden strengths. He opened the locket. Inside, instead of a picture, was another tiny, rolled-up piece of paper. His hands trembled as he unrolled it. This note was even shorter than the first. The truth is where our journey began. Where their journey began. Their first date. The little Italian restaurant downtown where they'd first met for coffee. He didn't know why she'd chosen that particular spot. She said it just felt right. He remembered how he'd spilled his coffee, and she'd laughed, a warm, infectious sound that had instantly charmed him. He also remembered something else, the small, unassuming bookstore next door, the Curious Read, where they'd browsed for hours after their coffee, discovering a shared love for obscure poetry and forgotten classics. He'd bought her a first edition of her favorite collection that day. She'd been ecstatic. He drove to the bookstore, the urgency in his chest growing with each passing moment. The lights were off, the door locked. It was past closing hours. He peered through the window. Rows of books, silent and still. Where could it be? He tried. The door again, just in case. Locked. He felt a surge of despair. Had he hit a dead end? Then he remembered a small detail. The owner, an eccentric old man named Silas, who always left a riddle on a chalkboard outside the store after hours, a literary puzzle for passers-by. He scanned the chalkboard now. Nothing. Just a blank slate. But wait. Silas had a habit of putting a unique key under a loose brick near the door, for special customers or for early morning deliveries. Liam had seen him do it once. He knelt, his fingers probing the bricks around the doorway. And there it was, a loose brick. He pulled it out, and nestled inside was a single brass key. He felt a rush of adrenaline. This was it. He inserted the key into the lock, and with a soft click, the door opened. The scent of old paper and dust filled his nostrils, a strangely comforting aroma. He stepped inside, the darkness oppressive. He fumbled for the light switch. The old fluorescent lights flickered to life, casting a sickly yellow glow over the towering bookshelves. The truth is where our journey began. Their journey in this bookstore. The day they met. He remembered the section where they had spent hours talking, the poetry section. He walked to it, his eyes scanning the spines. Shelley, Keats, Byron. He remembered the specific collection he'd bought her, a rare edition of Edgar Allan Poe's complete works. He ran his fingers along the spine, his heart thumping. And there it was. Not his copy, but another copy. This one looked new, pristine. He pulled it from the shelf. It was heavier than it should be. He opened it. The pages were cut out, forming a hollow compartment. And inside, a small, worn, leather-bound journal. Amelia's journal. He sank onto a dusty armchair, his hands trembling as he opened the journal. The first few pages were filled with her elegant handwriting, mundane entries about their life together, daily routines, funny anecdotes, expressions of love. He skimmed through them, a bittersweet ache in his chest. Then, suddenly, the tone shifted. The entries became more cryptic, more urgent. March 12th. The headaches are getting worse. The doctor said it's just stress, but I know it's more. I feel a shadow. April 5th. The memory lapses are terrifying. I can't remember things. Small things, important things. Liam's worried. I pretend it's nothing. May the 1st. I saw him again today. The man from the dreams. He's real. He knows something. He says he can help. But at what cost? Liam, so blood ran cold. Headaches? Memory lapses? A man from dreams? What was she talking about? He'd known nothing of this. He scrolled further. May 15th. The tests came back. It's a tumor. Malignant. Aggressive. They say I don't have much time. I can't tell Liam. He'll fall apart. He's too fragile. I need to be strong for him, even in this. His vision blurred. A tumor. Malignant. He gasped, a choked sob escaping his lips. Amelia had been sick, dying, and he hadn't known. He hadn't seen the signs. He felt a crushing wave of guilt, of helplessness. He had been so consumed by his own world, his own work. He hadn't noticed the silent battle she was fighting. He continued reading, tears streaming down his face. May the 28th. The man, Dr. Alistair Finch, he's a neuroscientist. He says there's a chance, a very small chance, an experimental procedure. It's risky. It's illegal even. But it's a chance, a way to fight for more time, to protect Liam. June 1st. Today is the day. I made the recording for Liam. It broke my heart. But it has to be this way. He needs to believe I'm gone, to believe it's over, so he doesn't follow me, doesn't try to stop me. He wouldn't understand. The clues will lead him to the truth when the time is right. The house is prepared. All the little things, the untouched baking ingredients, a symbol of the life we put on hold. The paper crane, a symbol of hope. The locket, a symbol of legacy. The book, a symbol of our beginning, of shared secrets. He needs to know I fought. I'm fighting for us, for our future, even if it's a tiny, desperate flicker. Liam dropped the journal, his hands shaking uncontrollably. Amelia wasn't gone. Not in the way he thought. She was fighting for her life, for their life. The audio message. I can't. She couldn't tell him. She couldn't bear to say goodbye, to explain. She was protecting him from the unbearable pain of her illness, from the desperate hope of an experimental treatment. The adios was a calculated deception, a painful act of love. He picked up the journal again, flipping through the remaining pages. The last entry was a single sentence, written in a shaky hand. June 2nd. Project Chimera. May it lead to life, or a peaceful end. For Liam. Project Chimera. A scientific experiment, an underground clinic, and the numbers. 2417 0309. He now understood. These weren't coordinates or dates. They were the security code for a hidden laboratory. But where was it? He racked his brain, trying to remember anything about Dr. Finch, about Project Chimera. Nothing. He felt a fresh wave of despair. He had found the truth, but it was incomplete. Amelia was still in danger. He closed the journal, his mind racing. He had to find her. He had to find Project Chimera. He looked around the dusty bookstore, desperate for another clue. His eyes landed on a stack of new arrivals, prominently displayed, near the front desk. A slim, academic-looking book with a complex diagram on the cover. The title, Neuroregenerative Therapies, The Future of Medicine. The author, Dr. Alistair Finch. Liam snatched it from the pile. He flipped through it, frantically, his eyes scanning the pages. He was looking for any mention of Project Chimera, any hint of a location. He found it on page 17, a small footnote almost hidden. Research for Project Chimera is currently being conducted at a discreet, privately funded facility in the EQ, secluded outskirts of Evergreen National Park, under strict confidentiality protocols. Evergreen National Park. Liam knew it well. They had hiked there often, enjoyed picnics by the lake. It was vast, remote, perfect for a clandestine operation, but secluded outskirts? That didn't narrow it down much. He looked at the book again, focusing on the diagram on the cover. It was a complex schematic of a brain, with various points highlighted. Next to one of the highlighted points, almost imperceptibly small, was a series of coordinates: 40.7128 degree N, 74.060 degree W. Wait, those were the coordinates for New York City. Why would they be on a book about neuroregenerative therapies? Unless it was a misdirection, a decoy. He looked at the number again. 24170309, the only numbers that Amelia gave him. He felt a flash of inspiration. The numbers must be a code for the page numbers in the book itself. He quickly flipped to page 24. Nothing obvious. He went to page 17. He had already seen the footnote there. Page 3, page 9. Nothing. He went back to the drawing of the brain on the cover. He looked closer. The numbers weren't coordinates, they were measurements of brain activity, and they related to the pages in the book. He re-examined the coordinates on the cover. 40.71128 to N, 74.60 to W. These weren't New York. They were the starting point for a calculation. He remembered something from a science class years ago, something about latitude and longitude, and how changes in numbers could pinpoint specific locations. What if the numbers Amelia gave him, 24 to 17, 0309, were not coordinates in themselves, but a sequence of offsets from the starting coordinates printed on the book cover? He pulled out his phone, his hands trembling. He typed the base coordinates into a mapping app. Then he added the offsets. Plunge 24 to the latitude, 17 to the longitude, Palazo 3 to the latitude, Add 9 to the longitude. The resulting coordinates flashed on the screen. 40.71555 degree BHN, 74.076 degree. He zoomed in. The location was a tiny, unmarked spot deep within Evergreen National Park, far from any established trails or roads. An old, abandoned research facility long forgotten by most. Perfect for a secret, experimental project. He felt a surge of desperate hope. He had found her. He had found Project Chimera. He ran out of the bookstore, the brass key still in his hand, leaving the book on the counter. Silas would understand. He jumped into his car, the engine roaring to life. The drive to Evergreen National Park felt even longer than the drive home. The sun had set, casting long, eerie shadows across the winding roads. He drove past the familiar entrance, then turned onto a narrow, unpaved track, barely visible in the darkness. The car bumped and rattled over roots and rocks, the branches of trees scraping against the windows. Finally, in a small clearing, he saw it. A dilapidated concrete building, half hidden by overgrown vegetation. It looked abandoned, forgotten. But as he got closer, he noticed a faint hum, a low thrumming sound emanating from within, and a single dim light flickering in a window. He parked the car, killed the engine, and plunged into the oppressive silence of the forest. He could hear his own ragged breathing, the frantic beat of his heart. He approached the building cautiously, his senses on high alert. The main door was old, rusted, but it was clearly in use. He tried the handle. Locked. He looked around, searching for another entrance, a way in. He noticed a small vent-like opening near the ground, almost hidden by a bush. Too small for him to fit. He remembered the security code from the coffee grinder, 2417-309. He scanned the wall near the door. There was a small, almost invisible keypad, disguised as part of the concrete. His hands shaking, he entered the numbers. A soft click echoed in the silence. The door creaked open. He stepped inside, the air heavy with the scent of chemicals and antiseptic. The building was a labyrinth of dimly lit corridors, humming machinery, and closed doors. He moved through it, his footsteps echoing eerily. He called out Amelia's name, his voice swallowed by the silence. He heard faint voices, a low murmur of scientific jargon, coming from behind a door at the end of the corridor. He approached it, his heart pounding. The sign on the door read, Bioregeneration Unit, authorized personnel only. He pushed the door open. The room was brightly lit, filled with complex medical equipment. Several figures in lab coats were gathered around a bed, their backs to him. And there, on the bed, pale and still, was Amelia. Wires snaked from her body, connecting her to various machines that beeped and hummed. Her head was shaved, a network of electrodes attached to her scalp. She looked fragile, vulnerable, but alive. "Amelia!" he cried out, his voice a raw whisper. Scientists turned, startled. Dr. Finch, a tall, intense-looking man with weary eyes, stepped forward. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" "I'm Liam. I'm Amelia's husband. What have you done to her?" He rushed to her bedside, his hand reaching for hers. Her skin was cool, almost cold. Dr. Finch sighed, rubbing his temples. "Mr. Miller, I understand your distress, but you shouldn't be here. This is a highly sensitive experimental procedure." "Procedure?" she told me. She left me a journal. She said she had a tumor, that you could help. Dr. Finch nodded, slowly. "Yes, Amelia has a very aggressive glioblastoma, untreatable by conventional means. Project Chimera is our last hope. It's a highly advanced neuroregenerative therapy designed to stimulate the brain's own healing mechanisms. It's incredibly risky, but without it, well, there's no other option. Why didn't she tell me? Liam's voice cracked. She wanted to protect you, Dr. Finch explained gently. She was afraid you'd try to stop her, or that you'd fall apart if you knew the truth of her condition. The slim chances. She's a remarkably strong woman, Mr. Miller. She chose to fight, not to surrender. She wanted to give you a future, even if it meant risking everything. Liam looked at Amelia, her face serene in sleep, a faint smile playing on her lips. He squeezed her hand, a profound love and admiration washing over him. She hadn't left him. She had fought for him. And now he was here. He wasn't going to leave her. "What can I do?" he asked, turning to Dr. Finch, his voice filled with a desperate resolve. Dr. Finch looked at him, a flicker of something in his eyes. Respect, perhaps, or understanding. "For now, Mr. Miller, you can wait. We're in the critical phase of the treatment. She needs rest and peace." He paused, then added, "It's been a long journey for her, and for us. The chances are still very, very slim. But there is hope. She chose to believe in that hope. You should too." Liam nodded, his gaze fixed on Amelia. Hope. A fragile, desperate flicker. But it was there. He would cling to it with every fiber of his being. He would wait. He would pray. He would be there when she woke up. For her. For them. He sat by her, bedside, holding her hand, watching the rhythmic rise and fall of her chest. The machines hummed their silent symphony of life. He recalled the terrifying emptiness of the house, the frantic drive, the desperate search for clues, all leading him to this moment, to this quiet, profound truth. He had been so lost, so consumed by grief and confusion, only to discover that her absence was an act of profound love, a sacrifice. And that, in its own way, was the greatest comfort of all. He would wait, no matter how long it took. He would wait for his Amelia. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for your time. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe. It truly helps the channel. Click the video on screen, and I'll see you there.